What is this Finspan game? Well, we'll tell you that on this episode.
We get some rum and beer, expensive port in a reindeer, so you know we're gonna party.
Welcome back, Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew. It is Dr. Scarlet Smash here, and I'm here with Dr. Kraken. And guess what? Dr. Kraken is in Florida with me. He's running away from the cold in Washington, D.C. However, he brought the cold with him. It is 50 degrees in Tampa right now, so it is freezing cold, but we'll be having a great conversation about games. Because what do you do when it's too cold or rainy outside? You go inside and play games, right, Dr. Kraken?
We were playing games all yesterday,
Yes.
in fact. So, yes. I have to say, it's Florida cold here, so it's still pretty balmy compared to Washington,
50
D.C.
degree. I understand that, but we do have plants and we do have animals that are not able to adjust to that. So it's like not the greatest when it gets that cold, but it's a cold front and hopefully it will go bye-bye. But we have Jamey Stegmaier right now here. He's a guest. He is the co-founder and lead designer and president of Stonemaier Games.
I'm here in St. Louis where it's 5 degrees right now, so I'm very jealous
Oh,
of your
wow,
50
I'm
degree
not
weather.
even complaining. Holy moly, I'm not even
Oh my
complaining.
goodness, it's just
Well,
dreadful.
It is a pleasure having you here. So we have had a few board game designers on this show. And first, we just really want to get to know who you are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been here in St. Louis for over half my life now. I grew up in Virginia playing games and then moved to St. Louis, had a few jobs, and then decided around 12 years ago to give Kickstarter a try with a game called Viticulture about making wine. And it turned into my career. So I now get to publish and manage making games full time.
This is basically your dream job, huh?
In a way, yeah, I didn't even know that it could be a job, but it turned into one. Yeah, so it is a dream job.
So when you were growing up, what was your favorite game?
I played a lot of games when I was little. Scotland Yard and Risk were probably two,
Oh, yeah.
and chess.
It's
were
very
three that I played quite a bit.
strategic. He's the
Yes.
strategic man. So does that mean that your new game, Finspan, is also strategic?
It is indeed strategic, yes. We have a very popular game called Wingspan, and it is based around the foundation of the strategy elements of Wingspan, but with the aquatic theme of fish and a lot of different mechanisms added on for it to make sense for the aquatic theme.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Wingspan, and I just love the fact that it tells you so much about the birds and their habitats, and the cool little eggs that you have in the game set as well, which are just very aesthetically pleasing. So I was really, really excited to hear that there's going to be a marine biology version of Wingspan. And of course, there's also Wormspan as well, which is with dragons. So if you're into the fantasy side of things. But yes, can you tell us a little bit about how Finspan works?
Yeah, so in Finspan, each player has it looks like a game board in front of them, but it's a player mat that they have full control over. It's their own little piece of the ocean. And each player plays as a marine researcher who is diving down into these depths and discovering and observing fish. So it's not a game about catching fish or killing fish. It's a game about learning about them and observing them in their natural habitats. And you do that by discovering some fish. So you're playing fish cards onto this mat. And then you're getting bonuses by observing a fish, by swimming by a fish and learning a little bit about it, watching it as it lays an egg, or as that egg hatches into a young, or as these youngs gather together into schools. So it's a game about playing cards and then moving around some tokens on the mat, like the young and the schools, to get extra points and to make a few different things happen.
So why did you decide you wanted to do a fish game specifically?
Yeah. After Wingspan took off, we started to get a lot of requests from people about other animals that we could use with that foundation of how Wingspan works. We heard a lot of requests for dinosaurs and dragons, and we went with dragons to the dinosaurs, and then we wanted to come back to a real world type of animal. And fish was the number one request. So we thought, okay, there's a lot of amazing aquatic life, and so that's why we dove down into fish.
And you obviously have the predators, right?
There are predators in fact, I just played yesterday at a convention. I played the game, and I had a fish that wanted me to have as many predators as possible. So I tried to play a bunch of predators onto my mat.
Oh, okay. So let's go through it. Let's almost teach our
Sure.
audience how to kind of play it. So when they order it, they don't,
Uh-huh.
it's the instructions are not intimidating, right?
Right.
So you all have a mission.
Yeah, each player, the game is built around playing these fish, and each fish wants something different or does something different. And so on my turn, I'm either playing a fish card from my hand onto my mat, and we've divided the mat into different depths so that if you have a fish that exists in the depths, you can't just play that in right near the shallows. Or if you have a fish that lives near coral reefs, you can't play that really, really deep down on your player mat. And then on many turns in the game, you're taking a little token, a little diver token, and you're diving down the mat from top to bottom, and you're kind of visiting each little fish along the way. And some of those fish give you little benefits. I had a fish yesterday that let me lay an egg, and some of the fish do things when you play them, and other fish give you benefits at the end of the game. They might say, okay, at the end of the game, gain an extra point for every egg that you have on your player mat, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different strategies about how you can play. You can play the long game
Right.
by placing all these sort of little things at the end of the game, and then suddenly win when you think the other players think they're going to win until they get extra points.
My thing is, are we trying to compete with the other researchers?
That's a great question. I should have led with
Okay.
that. Yes. Yeah. The point of the game, it is a competitive game where you're
Okay.
trying to get the most points by having the most, I guess, robust, thriving ocean compared to other players' oceans. Although one of the fun things I found about this game is that it is fun to win. It's fun to get points, but
Oh, Dr. Kraken knows that. He is one
He
of those
does.
people that has to win. And if he
Uh-huh.
doesn't win, he's not happy. So,
I know,
yeah.
totally Slytherin, very
Yes.
competitive.
So, yes, of course, it's very pleasing to him to collect whatever eggs or
Uh-huh.
whatever you're collecting down in the sea. Continue.
There are players like that. I'm sometimes like that too, but sometimes I just see a fish that is really interesting or has an interesting puzzle to solve about it. Maybe it wants a condition that is difficult to meet, or it's just a beautiful fish. And I'll end up playing that for that reason. And I was playing with a player yesterday who just wanted to fill up their sunlight zone with beautiful fish, and they accomplished that goal. They didn't win, but in their mind, I think they accomplished
Yeah,
what they
that's
wanted to
me.
do in the game.
That
That's
is
you?
me during
Okay.
a game. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
well, look, my own personal goal is different than winning a
Right.
game.
Yeah.
If I got you to lose something, I win. But okay, so how many players can you have, and what are the ages, that can play this game?
Yeah, this is a game that plays from 1 to 5 players. So there's a solo mode where you can play it by yourself if you want.
Ooh.
And this is one of our rare games. Most of our games play 14 plus. So you typically need to be able to read pretty well and understand strategy fairly well to be able to play our games. But this game skews a little bit younger. It's still a strategy game. There's still a lot to think about, but we decided to make it language independent. So the abilities on the cards are represented in icons. And so someone who's a little bit younger who can't read, who isn't able to read longer sentences yet, they can still play this game, unlike Wingspan, which requires a lot of reading.
Okay. I love that you're talking about reading right now. And, I advocate for neurodiversity. Myself am dyslexic. Dr. Kraken is dyslexic. And, sometimes certain kind of fonts are harder for people to read. So did you ever take that in consideration when you were creating your cards?
Absolutely, yes. Although it's something that I've had to learn along the way, that people read text in different ways and consume that type of information in different ways. I think Wingspan honestly struggles a little bit with that. Both the comprehension and the contrast between the text and the background isn't good enough, honestly, in Wingspan.
That's what I had a problem with. So it was
Yeah.
very interesting and I loved it, but it was just like my eyes were like, woo!
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be concentrating on?
Yeah.
So
I
then
totally
that
hear that.
consideration was put into this board game. That's
It absolutely
awesome.
was. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you were considering the rules and how this was going to play out and the strategies, what did you consider was your most challenging part of creating this game?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge is that we wanted this game to be familiar to those who enjoy Wingspan. So similar foundation, but also different enough that it could belong on the same shelf as someone who already owns Wingspan and really feel like the aquatic theme, that it represented the aquatic theme. And so that was a big challenge. It was hard to, replicate this thing, but also make it different. And it took the designers, David and Michael, a long time to figure that out. But I really appreciate all the effort they put into that.
Okay, well now I almost want to talk to them because I'd love to pick their brains on how they decided to do that. I mean, it's a big project. This is like, it's kind of intimidating thinking about creating something like this. And you've got a lot of scientists that are going to be questioning you, and they're they're gonna double fact check, and there's just a lot of people that are gonna say, well, this wasn't as good as Wingspan. I mean, I can't even imagine all the pressure. So I mean, do you just have this one whiteboard that you all get together and you all like put out all the points that you want to like focus on? I mean, how does this come about? Please tell me more.
Yeah, essentially, we used a digital whiteboard. I think we used a Google Sheet just to talk about what we wanted to keep about Wingspan, what we wanted to adjust about Wingspan, and then ideas for how to bring the aquatic theme into it. And we also, one key advantage we ended up having is that we brought on a consultant who is a marine researcher who also knows board games pretty well. And her name is Bryn. And Bryn was wonderful throughout the process to make sure that we were accurately representing this aquatic theme in the game. So very grateful for Bryn.
That's fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah.
I
We need
wish more groups, TV shows, whatever, would have scientists to give them advice about the actual science. That's fabulous.
How did you meet her?
I don't remember at this point because we've been working on this game for about 3 years. I don't remember how the initial connection happened. I think maybe a few people have reached out to me directly over the years and said, hey, why don't you make a fish-themed version of Wingspan? I'm a marine researcher. And so it was probably one of those emails where maybe she had reached out to us originally. But she caught the tiniest little details. There were even illustrations that our artists made that we thought were the fish. And they were like just a slightly off, just a very slightly different version of the fish. And she caught every little detail like that, and we were able to fix it.
Oh,
I think we were able to fix it.
Awesome. Well, then, Dr. Kraken, we need to send in a request saying that we want to do a pirate marine game with. Send that in.
Pirates fan?
Yeah, exactly. Pirate fans. Okay, so let's go into their company, Stegmaier, for a minute. All right, so tell me what you guys focus on. What are some of the other games that you have, and where can we get more information?
Yeah, our company is called Stegmaier Games, and we make strategy games similar to Finspan. At this point, I think we have around 20 different games ranging from the nature-driven games or real-life themed games like viticulture is based on running a vineyard, Wingspan's about observing and gathering birds, and Finspan is about fish, to some games that have more speculative themes like an alternate reality 1920 plus
Wait a minute.
European game.
You made Scythe?
Yeah, Scythe is that game. Yeah.
Oh
Have you played that
my
one?
gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't.
Scythe is
I cannot
fabulous.
believe this.
Thanks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, she's got Scythe on her shelf.
Yeah,
and
I do.
Oh, cool.
love the aesthetics of Scythe. It's absolutely beautiful.
And then this one, I didn't get to play this one. Kaido, I don't know. It's Japanese.
Tokaido. Yeah, that's
Tokaido, yeah.
That's our newest game. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, we need to get that one, Dr. Kraken. Oh, I feel like this is Christmas right now looking at all your stuff. Okay, so for a first-time player.
Yeah.
Okay, let's step back a minute. Because there's a lot of generations that might have not really gotten to the strategic kind of games, or a lot of people call them adult games, right? Everyone talks about Risk, Monopoly, Clue, those kinds of things. When you say, hey, what game do you play? They like always revert back to that. And you're like, ooh, how can I introduce you to the adult games? You know what I mean? Like, and help you understand how to work with that kind of strategy. Because once you learn, you can keep adding to the strategic ways of how adult games operate, right?
the gateway game.
The gateway.
Yeah.
The great one, the gateway game. Yes. Out of all of your games, which one would you suggest is a good gateway game?
We don't have many that are really gateway games. Ours are usually a little bit heavier, but one that I think works pretty well. We have a game called Between Two Cities. It's probably our shortest game. It plays in about 20 minutes. And it's a game where And I know this is a new concept for someone who hasn't played Monopoly, but it's a game where you have a hand of tiles and you select a couple of those tiles and then pass the rest, the ones that you don't choose, to the player on your left. And then together with the player on your left and right, you use those tiles to build little cities. And so there's a lot of communication in the game. You're constantly talking to the people on the left and the right. And it also means that if either the person on your left or right really knows how to play the game and they really understand it, then it makes it really easy to learn and teach. You don't have to sit through a teach. They can just kind of talk you through it as you play it.
And tell us the name of that game again.
That's Between Two Cities.
I feel like I tried this or something like that. Yeah. Ooh, yes. This one looks good too. I love that. You can save 20% off right now on your website.
Now, as a super competitive Slytherin here, sometimes when I play board games, it's to the death, and it leads to problem with friends. So are there any good ones that you suggest that are cooperative? So you're playing together as a team rather than, well, maybe a little bit competitive against each other. Who's the best in the team? But do you have any ones that you can play and not break friendships over?
Oh, I know. Seriously, I'm that type. I cannot do that. Right, Kraken? I get really mad at you, Kraken, if you're going against me. I'm like, you better team up with me and we're going to be friends.
That would probably fall into the cooperative game category where you're working together with your friends. We have a game like that coming out in the near future, but we only have one little cooperative game so far. But there is a game that I recommend that we don't make that kind of answers both of your questions. There's a recent game that came out called The Gang, which is a cooperative poker game. So anyone who's ever played a hand of poker will understand the concepts in this game. You're just playing a hand of poker essentially, but you're working together with other players to try to communicate how strong your hand is compared to someone else. It's a really neat game. I just played it at a convention this past weekend. And so, yeah, that's what I think that I'd recommend.
Oh, wow.
It's called The Gang.
It's a little bit like when, if you're playing bridge with a partner, you kind of want to work with your partner to win. So it's a little bit like that sort of thing.
I'm obsessed. Yeah. When are you going to come to Tampa so we can all play games?
I have some family in Tampa, so maybe I'll visit sometime and bring some games. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
Excellent. Ooh. Okay, you're telling us, and then we'll record another episode. So we just want to thank you so much. Where can we find all your information?
If you go to StegmaierGames.com, that's the hub for everything. I have articles there about entrepreneurship. I have links to our YouTube videos and links to all of our social accounts. So Stegmaier Games is the place to find all that stuff.
Well, we're really excited to play your new game, Finspan. Thank you so much for being on here, and we have to have you back.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
And we're going to have you over to play games when you're in Tampa.
That would be awesome.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Dr. Kraken, for being here. And for everyone that's listening, thank you so much for being part of Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew. Hey, Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew. Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us for future episodes. And also refer us. We'd love it. We would also like to hear from you. So please contact us on social media, or you can email us about a topic that you're interested in hearing about. If you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, or you would like us to come visit your science facility and do a live episode, email us at info@absolutelysmashingllc.com. This podcast was edited and produced by Absolutely Smashing. The music is produced by Jolly Shore Leave. Thank you again for listening, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for being part of the Marine Conservation Happy Hour crew.